before the noise, before the notifications, before the chaos of the outside world hijacks your mind. There is a window, a brief silent window when you are alone with your breath. Most people waste this moment. They reach for their phone, they scroll, they react. But those walking the path of mastery understand. What you say to yourself in the first 5 minutes shapes the next 12 hours. There is a form of quiet magic in morning words. Not loud at all, just still. Today I will show you 6 powerful things to say to yourself every morning. Not to manifest, not to feel good, but to remember who you are and why you're walking this path. When you open your eyes in the morning, something strange happens. The body may be in the present, but the mind is already elsewhere. It drifts quickly into the worries of the day, into old conversations, into future outcomes, into regrets that were supposed to be buried but still knock quietly in the background. Thoughts come like a tide, uninvited, and if you are not awake enough, you do not ride the wave, you become swallowed by it. This is why the first sentence must not be casual. It must be deliberate. It must cut through the fog like a blade. I am not my source. This is the moment when the master begins training, not with push-ups or stretching, but with observation. The awareness of what enters the mind without permission. The realization that not every voice belongs to you. That the mind is like a room, and thoughts are just guests. Some are kind, some are anxious, some are angry, but none of them are you. They visit, they leave, but you remain. When you believe every thought, you become a servant. But when you begin to watch the thoughts without attaching to them, something changes. You gain distance, you become the sky, not the cloud. You become the mountain, not the wind. Still, unmoved. This is how monks train, not through force, but through space. They do not fight thoughts, they let them pass. They do not shout over the noise, they quiet their presence until noise has nothing to feed on. You may not live in a monastery, but the mind is the same, whether in a temple or in traffic, the same rule applies. You are not your thoughts. In the ancient text, it is said, the untrained mind is like a monkey, jumpy, loud, impulsive. But I believe it is even more dangerous than that. The untrained mind can also wear your face. It speaks in your voice. It uses your memories to scare you. It uses your future to pressure you. And if you are not careful, you will mistake this voice for your own. You will carry guilt that isn't yours, and shame that is only an echo. This sentence, this practice, I am not my thoughts, is not meant to suppress, it is meant to liberate. Let the thoughts rise, let them speak, let them come. But you, the observer, you remain rooted, watching, breathing. There is a tree in the monastery garden. It does not speak, it does not move, it simply stands. But every season, birds land in its branches. Some sing, some squawk, some rest, some leave, and still the tree remains. This is how you must become with your mind. Thoughts may land, let them, but do not bend with everyone. Do not believe that every bird has something wise to say. Early in the morning, before the world begins to pull on you, this is your first training. Sit, read, and speak quietly within, I am not my thoughts. Then let them come. You'll be surprised at how quickly they lose their power when they are not believed. The moment you believe you are your thoughts, you inherit all their weight. But when you step back, you notice the thought, I'm not good enough, is just a sentence. It has no legs, It cannot walk unless you carry it. The thought this day will be hard has no teeth unless you feed it. All thoughts are like shadows, large only when the light is blocked. So, allow light in, shine the lantern of awareness on each one. Ask it, are you helpful? Are you true? Are you kind? And if not, let it pass. Like clouds across the sky, you do not chase clouds, you do not trap them. You just keep walking. Even now as you listen, thoughts are moving. Maybe one says, this is too difficult. Maybe another says, this won't work for me. Let them pass. You do not need to argue. You just need to return to this breath, this presence, this simple truth. You are not your thoughts. And in that space between who you are and what you think is freedom. Before the first word is spoken, before the first task is touched, there is the breath. So simple that most ignore it. So constant that it becomes invisible. Yet in this invisible rhythm lies the beginning of everything. Your peace, your energy, your clarity, all of it begins with breath. In the monastery, we rise before the sun, not to chase achievement, not to outwork others, but to remember something more ancient than ambition, that breath is life's original instruction. Inhale, presence. Exhale, attachment. Inhale, awareness. Exhale, control. With no noise, no effort. Just breath, setting the tone like a tuning fork aligns an instrument. The question is, what breath will I carry into it? Most people rush into their day as if chased. They wake up with alarms that jolt the nervous system. They reach for devices, their bodies are awake, but their minds are already in war. And the breath, fast, shallow, unnoticed, starts to lead them, not toward calm, but toward chaos. This is the great irony, that peace is not lost in the world, it is lost in the way we breathe. If you want to know a person's mind, watch their breath. The anxious one breathes from the chest, quick and clipped, as if fleeing something invisible. The angry one holds their breath, tight, hot, ready to explode. But the one who's anchored breathes low, deep into the belly, like roots growing silently into the earth. So in the first light of morning, speak not with words, but with awareness. Say to yourself, my breath sets the tone. Not my goals, not my schedule, not my inbox. Just this inhale, this exhale. From it, all other decisions will be shaped. A slow breath does not panic. A deep breath does not fear. When I walk through the temple grounds, I often watch the bamboo sway with the wind. It does not resist. It bends, it moves, yet it never breaks. It breathes in its own way. It reminds me to be alive is not to be rigid, but to be responsive. And nothing makes you more responsive, more in tune with life than conscious breathing. It's not dramatic, it doesn't need to be. Breathing is the body's way of reminding you that control is an illusion. You can't force the breath, you can only allow it. You can't rush it, you can only ride it. And in doing so, you realize something that most people never see. That peace isn't something you find, it's something you return to. And the path home is breath. There are mornings when you will wake up heavy, burdened by thoughts, haunted by unfinished stories. On those mornings, do not fight. Do not pretend to be positive. Just breathe. Sit with yourself, let the breath clean what the mind has stained. You don't need to fix everything before the day begins. You just need to be with yourself fully in that breath. And in that small sacred act, clarity begins. One breath. That is all it takes to shift the energy of a room. One breath to slow down a racing heart. One breath to interrupt the story that you are already behind, that you are already losing. One breath full, present, honest. Let the world be loud. Let it spin. Let it demand. You are not here to match its noise. You are here to set your own tone. And that tone is quiet, grounded, a stillness that cannot be disturbed by surface level storms. If you forget everything else, remember this. Your breath is always with you. It is your anchor when life becomes rough. It is your compass when the path becomes unclear. It is your teacher when the mind becomes loud. You don't need to go anywhere to find peace. You simply need to go nowhere and breathe. So begin there. Each morning, before movement, before the mind begins its dance, sit, listen, feel the breath move in like the ocean tide, then out again. Do not rush it. Let it show you what you need to know. Your breath sets the tone. Let that tone be calm. Let it be clean. Let it be yours. There is a moment, often unnoticed, when your day asks you a question. Before the phone rings, before the world knocks, before your roles and responsibilities dress you in armor. The question is not loud, it whispers, and it asks, who will you be today? Most do not answer, they react, they default. But those who walk the path understand. Silence is not a lack of response, it is shelterment. And so the answer I offer each morning is this. Today I choose stillness over reaction. This is not a phrase for display, it is a contract between you and the present moment. A quiet discipline that reminds you the world does not owe you peace, but you can choose to carry it anyway. Like a bowl of water in your hands, your peace is yours to protect. And every interaction, every challenge, every word from another is a wind that may try to tip it. Stillness is how you steady the bowl. It is how you walk without spilling. In Shaolin, we do not train to avoid conflict. We train so that conflict cannot enter our center. The world will still move, people will still test, but the one who chooses stillness becomes a mirror, not a sponge. You reflect the energy without absorbing it, without becoming it. There are days when the storm comes early, a message you didn't expect, a person who pushes your patience, a delay that disrupts your rhythm. And in that moment, the mind will offer you its usual weapons: anger, defensiveness, pride. But stillness asks nothing from others, it only asks that you wait. Wait before reacting, wait before letting the moment tell you who you are. Stillness is not the absence of energy, it is the mastery of it. The lake does not cease to be water when it is calm. It is water in its most honest form. Deep, undisturbed, reflective. Your mind too is capable of such calm. But only when you decide that every opinion is not yours to carry, every invitation to conflict is not yours to accept, every trigger is not yours to pull. Sometimes when I walk in the mountains, I observe the way the rocks remain while the wind screams past. The rock does not argue. It does not try to convince the wind to be quiet. It simply remains. This is the stillness I speak of. Not passive, not weak, but unwavering. And when you choose it, especially when no one expects it, you shift the entire energy of the day. The power of stillness is not that it avoids life's messiness. It is that it can enter the mess without being stained by it. That when someone raises their voice, you lower your heart rate. That when the noise escalates, you return to your breath. That when urgency tries to pull you into its storm, you walk slower. But this choice must be made in advance. Stillness is not something you find in the middle of the fire, unless you've already trained in the silence. This is why we begin the day with the phrase, to remind the body, the mind, the nervous system, today, I do not need to win every argument. I do not need to fix what is not mine. I only need to remain clear, like water, like sky, like a monk who knows his step even on uneven ground. It may feel unnatural at first, to pause instead of respond, to observe instead of judge. But that discomfort is proof that you are moving against habit. And habit is the true master of the unconscious. Stillness breaks that pattern. It interrupts the old reflexes that once led to regret. It opens a space between the trigger and the action. And in that space, you become free. Sometimes people will mistake your calm for weakness. Let them. The tree that bends in a storm survives, the one that resists breaks. Let the world misread you. You do not train to impress them. You train so that you may meet yourself without shame at the end of each day. And if you can say, this vow, spoken each morning, is a gentle reminder that you always have a choice, not over what happens, but over how you meet it. You do not control the wind, but you control the sail. And sometimes, the wisest sail is no movement at all, just presence, just awareness. When the sun rises, it does not ask the sky for permission. It does not wait to see if the clouds have cleared. It simply rises. Again, without apology, without hesitation. This is how we must learn to meet the day. Not with perfect readiness, not with all wounds healed, but with quiet courage. The kind that says, I forgive myself for yesterday. This is not a phrase for the world to hear. It is not meant for ceremony or performance. It is a medicine spoken in solitude to the part of you that still carries yesterday's weight like a stone tucked in the chest. You may have said something in anger. You may have broken a promise to yourself. You may have drifted from the past. And the mind, so clever in its cruelty, keeps record of it all, like a scribe that only documents your mistakes. But what if that scribe is not your ally? What if remembering too long is the very thing that keeps you from becoming something new? In a monastery, we sweep the stone paths every morning, even when they appear clean. Not because of dirt, but because of presence. Each sweep says, begin again. Each motion says, release what has settled in the night. And this is what you must do with your heart. Each morning, sweep it, not to forget, but to unchain, to loosen the grip of guilt that speaks in whispers, you failed, you are not enough. These are not truths, these are echoes. They sound like you, but they are not you. They are fragments of the past, asking for more life than they deserve. Forgiveness is not indulgence, it is not weakness, it is strength of the highest order. Because it demands that you see yourself as both flawed and worthy, as both fallen and still capable of rising. A master once told me, a man who cannot forgive himself becomes dangerous, not because he harms others, but because he knitted harsh, closed, and in that closing he forgets that growth is a living thing. It needs space, it needs gentleness, it needs light. When you carry yesterday into today, you give away the morning before it begins. You hand it to a version of yourself that no longer exists. But when you say, I forgive myself for yesterday, you return to now, to breath, to what can be shaped. There is an old tree near the temple. Its trunk is split from lightning, scarred and hollow at the center. Yet every spring it blossoms, not in spite of the wound, but because the roots still drink deeply from the earth. The wound is part of its form, but not the end of its growth. And I believe humans are no different. Our regrets are not signs of failure. They are doorways to deeper discipline if we are willing to let go of the punishment. Say the words even if they feel undeserved, even if the mind resists, even if a part of you clings to the idea that shame equals responsibility. It does not. Shame is a wall, responsibility is a bridge. Shame says you are the mistake. Responsibility says you made a mistake, now walk differently. And forgiveness is what allows you to take that first step without the chains around your ankles. You may be tempted to wait for some signal before you forgive yourself, a sign that you've earned it. But morning is the only sign you need. The return of light is the universe telling you you are not done. Begin again. Even the stars disappear, only to return. Even the moon fades, only to be reborn. Why should your spirit be any different? Sit with yourself before the noise of the day begins. Let the breath soften the edges. Let the silence hold you like a mountain holds mist. And say it softly with conviction. I forgive myself for yesterday. Then leave the door open so that you may finally walk through it. There is a strange hunger in the modern mind, a restlessness, a craving for the outcome before the effort has even begun. You see it in the way people check their phones for results even before they've taken the first step. You hear it in their language, how quickly they ask, will this work, or what will I get from it? As if the past must reveal its reward before we agree to walk it. But those who live close to the ground, who rise with the wind and train with the breath, know another truth. A quieter truth, one that speaks in the early hours of the day. I only control my effort, not the outcome. This phrase is not meant to numb your ambition. It is meant to purify it, to remove the disease of comparison, the pressure of speed, the illusion that you must always be ahead of someone or else you are behind. In the monastery, no one speaks of progress in numbers. No one is praised for being faster. We train until the movement becomes honest. We train because the practice itself is the reward. And so should your life become a daily discipline, not tied to applause, but to alignment. There is a stream that runs through the temple's edge. It flows whether or not we are watching. It moves over rocks, under fallen branches, around obstacles that try to slow it. And never once does it ask, when will I reach the ocean? It just flows, fully, presently. This is the way of effort. You may plant seeds today and see no growth for weeks or months or longer. But the earth is always working. Just because you cannot see the roots does not mean they are not forming. Just because the fruit has not arrived does not mean the tree is failing. Effort works in silence, in the unseen, and so must your trust. There is pain in this discipline, because the world around you will reward shortcuts. You will see others rise quickly, though their foundation is weak. You will be tempted to abandon your way, to chase speed instead of depth. But remember, water that moves too fast erodes its own banks. What rises too quickly often collapses under its own weight. You must build differently. You must train for what cannot be taken. So each morning speak this sentence not with resignation, but with strength. I only control my effort, not the outcome. Then ask yourself, what can I give today? Not what will I bring to your work, to your relationships, to your presence. This is the true posture of a warrior, not the one who demands results, but the one who gives fully. Then let's go. There will be times when you give your best, and it still is not enough for the job, for the praise, for the goal you hope to reach. But that does not make the effort worthless. It makes it pure. Because effort without guarantee, that is devotion. That is where the spirit is formed. The leaves on the trees do not choose whether they fall. The wind does. The tree only decides how deeply it roots itself before the storm. And so must you. You do not decide whether the world accepts you today. You do not control whether your work is celebrated or ignored. You only choose whether to show up, rooted or reactive. And that choice, that is everything. Let others obsess over outcomes. Let them chase applause and likes and numbers. You are not here for that. You are here to live in alignment with your breath, with your vow, with your deeper nature. And nature does not rush. The mountain does not measure its height. It simply stands. When the day becomes heavy, return to this breath, this step in front of you, and do it as if no one is watching, because often no one is. And that is when your practice becomes real, not when it is seen, but when it is sacred. When you can look at your own reflection at night and say, I gave what I could. I held nothing back. I did not shrink from the work. That is enough, more than enough. Outcomes come and go, titles fade, but who you became by showing up with full effort, that stays. That is the part of you that cannot be taken by failure, that cannot be inflated by success, that cannot be measured by anyone but the quiet self that watches from within. And so, walk forward. Offer your effort like incense in the morning air, and let the wind carry it where it will. There is a quiet kind of strength that no one applauds. No spotlight ever finds it, no crowd ever cheers for it. It lives in the early morning, before the sun has risen. It lives in the small decisions made when no one is looking. It lives in the stillness of your own heart when the world is asleep. Most people are conditioned to move only when there is reward, to act only when there is recognition. Their effort is tied to validation, their discipline is dependent on attention. But the way of the monk, the warrior, the one seeking mastery, this path begins when you no longer need witnesses to justify your walk. There is a stone path behind the monastery, rarely used, overgrown with moss and thyme. It winds through the forest quietly. No one praises it, no one photographs it, yet every day I walk it, not because someone is counting the steps, but because it leads me back to myself. The training is not for others to see, it is for me to remember. Each movement, each breath, each repetition of the vow, done not for proof but for presence. The discipline you keep in private becomes the truth of who you are. It does not need validation. It becomes its own flame. Steady, silent, alive. There will be days when the world tempts you to perform, to show your progress, to prove your worth. And on those days, your ego will whisper, why keep going if no one notices? But the spirit, older than the ego, deeper than the voice, will answer back, because this is who I choose to be. This is the moment where the real path begins. When there is no applause, when there is no finish line. When you show up simply because the path calls you, and you have made the vow to answer. The bamboo does not grow for the world to see. For years it grows only beneath the soils, roots spreading in silence. And then, when ready, it rises fast, seemingly overnight. But the truth is, the growth happened in secret, where no one was watching, where no one claps. And so it is with you. What you build in solitude becomes the foundation for everything you will one day carry. This morning vow, I walk the path even when no one sees, is a reminder that mastery is not an event. It is not a performance, it is a relationship between you and the practice, between you and the version of yourself that only emerges when the noise fades away. If you can stay committed in those moments, when doubt creeps in, when fatigue whispers surrender, when loneliness tries to shake your footing, then you are no longer walking the path. The path is walking through you. There is an old lantern that hangs outside my room. Some days I wonder if anyone even notices it anymore. But still, I light it each evening, not because it is needed, but because it is tradition, because it is my small offering to the silence. Because in that act, I remind myself not all things must be seen to matter. Let your training be like that lantern, quiet, steady, offering light even when no one is looking. Let your decisions be made not in the theater of the world, but in the temple of your own conscience. Let your footsteps carry no need for praise, only the rhythm of truth. It is easy to act with integrity when others are watching. But the real question is, what do you choose when no one is? Do you still rise early? Do you still breathe deeply? Do you still return to your vow? Not because it is expected, but because it is yours. In the end, the past will not ask how many people admired you. It will ask whether you were faithful, whether you stayed true, whether you kept walking, even in the dark, even in the silence, even when the world offered no recognition in return. That is where you become unshakable, not in the noise, but in the quiet, not in the crowd, but in the solitude. So speak it each morning, not loudly, not for others to hear, just for yourself. In the stillness of your own heart, I walk the path, even when no one sees. Then take one step and another. That is enough. That is everything. Before the world finds you again, before the duties return, the sounds swell, the distractions creep in, I ask you to sit with yourself one last time. Let the breath slow, let the silence widen. You began this journey with 6 simple phrases, but perhaps you've realized by now, they are not phrases at all. They are doors to stillness, to truth, to presence, and to the version of you that does not need anything added, only remembered. Each morning you are given a rare invitation, not from the world, but from life itself, to begin again, to lay down yesterday's story, to return to the breath, to walk without noise, but with clarity. These are not things others will see. There will be no ovation for the man who speaks gently to his own mind. No award for the woman who forgives herself before sunrise. But this is the quiet nobility of the path. You don't walk it for recognition. You walk it because something sacred in you refuses to sleep through this life. The Buddha once said, "As a mountain is unmoved by the wind, so the wise are unmoved by praise or blame." So be like the mountain, rooted, steady, unmoved. The next time you wake, I ask only this: do not reach for your phone. Do not reach for the world. Reach inward. Return to the breath. And let this be your challenge, your silent training. Begin the day in stillness, even if no one else does. The world will follow its rhythm. Let it. You are here to follow your own. Now rise, not quickly, not loudly, but with care, and walk the path softly, simply, completely. In stillness, you are already home.